Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to unpack how generative AI is transforming the legal world. You might already be familiar with AI, but trust me, this is different. We're going beyond simple algorithms to AI that actually creates things, like contracts, legal arguments, even art, and figuring out what that means for lawyers like you.
Exactly. We've got a pile of research here. Articles from PwC, Stanford Law School, Berkeley Law, even a Wikipedia deep dive. And what's fascinating is how this tech is already being used. You've probably heard of ChatGPT, but have you heard of Harvey?
Harvey.
It's built specifically for law and can spit out answers to legal questions, draft documents, and summarize cases faster than any human.
Whoa, it's like having a superpowered legal assistant who never sleeps. But hold on, before we start picturing robots arguing cases in court, let's get real for a second.
Right. The big question everyone's asking is, will AI replace lawyers entirely? The PwC article quotes Google's CEO saying no. He thinks there will actually be more lawyers in the future. AI will take over the grunt work, freeing up lawyers to do the high-level thinking and strategy that requires a human touch.
Okay, so maybe not robot lawyers yet. But this shift in how legal work gets done is still a big deal, and there are some potential downsides we need to address.
Absolutely. The Economics Observatory piece points out that right now AI can sometimes hallucinate, basically invent facts that sound plausible but are totally wrong. In law, that's a huge problem. Imagine relying on a case that doesn't even exist.
Yikes. That's a legal nightmare waiting to happen. So how do we prevent that? Is there a way to make sure the AI is giving us accurate information?
That's where things get tricky. Developers are trying to ground AI in real documents and data to reduce those hallucinations. But it's still a work in progress. Plus, legal systems are different everywhere. AI trained on U.S. law won't be much use in China, for instance. This jurisdictional issue is a big hurdle for creating truly global legal AI.
So it sounds like there's a lot of potential here, but also a lot of challenges to overcome. Where does that leave someone in the legal profession today? Should they be running for the hills or signing up for coding boot camp?
I'd say neither. Berkeley Law is launching a course specifically on generative AI for legal professionals. It's designed for everyone, from general counsels to those working in law firm marketing. And it covers everything from the basics of AI to how it can be used in different legal roles.
So they're acknowledging that this tech is here to stay, and the best thing to do is get ahead of the curve. That's smart. But it's not just about individual lawyers adapting, right? This AI stuff is already impacting the legal system as a whole, isn't it?
You're spot on. Think about it. If legal arguments and decisions increasingly rely on AI-powered research and analysis, how do we ensure fairness? What happens if the AI itself is biased? This isn't just about jobs. It's about the very foundation of our legal system being reshaped.
Whoa, that's deep. So it's not just about lawyers using AI, but about the whole legal system having to adapt to this new reality. This takes us to a crucial question for you, the listener. What does this all mean for your specific role in the legal world? We'll explore that in the next part of our deep dive, so stick around.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're right in the thick of it now, exploring how generative AI is shaking up the legal world. And as we've heard, it's not just about fancy new tools, it's about a fundamental shift in how the law itself operates.
You're absolutely right. It's like we're laying down new tracks while the train's still running. We've got to figure this out in real time, with real consequences.
Okay, so let's get practical for a moment. If you're listening to this, you're probably involved in the legal field in some way. What can you do to prepare for this AI-powered future?
Well, knowledge is power. That Berkeley Law course we mentioned is a great starting point for anyone, regardless of their specific role. And for those already working in law organizations like ELTA are essential for staying up to date on best practices and new tech. So learning and staying informed are key. But it's not just about keeping up with the tech, right? We've also got to think critically about the information we're getting, especially as AI-generated content becomes more common.
Absolutely. It's like we're entering a world where anything can be faked. Imagine a court case relying on evidence that was created by AI, not based on real events. How do you even begin to sort truth from fiction?
That's a scary thought. And it goes beyond just the courtroom, right? AI-generated news articles, reports, even social media posts could be used to manipulate public opinion or sway legal decisions. It's a whole new level of information warfare.
You're hitting on a crucial point. We need to develop new skills and strategies for verifying information in the age of AI. It's not enough to just trust what we see or read. We need to be skeptical, check sources, and look for corroborating evidence.
So it's not just lawyers who need to adapt. It's everyone who interacts with the legal system. Even just as a citizen, we all need to become more discerning consumers of information.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting. If we're relying more and more on AI for legal research, for drafting documents, even for making decisions, Who's responsible when things go wrong?
Ooh, that's a good question. If an AI tool gives bad advice or creates a faulty contract, who takes the blame? The lawyer who used it, the company that developed it? This feels like a legal and ethical minefield.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And it's not just a theoretical problem. We've already seen cases where AI systems have shown bias leading to unfair outcomes. Imagine that happening in a legal context where people's lives and livelihoods are at stake.
This isn't just about efficiency or convenience anymore. It's about fundamental fairness and justice. And it feels like we're just starting to grapple with these questions.
We are. But the good news is, by having these conversations, by raising awareness about the potential pitfalls of AI, we can start building safeguards and frameworks to ensure it's used responsibly.
So it's not all doom and gloom. We have the power to shape how AI is used in the legal world and make sure it enhances justice, not undermines it.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another big question. Who owns the stuff AI creates? If an AI can write a contract or compose a song, who holds the copyright? That's where we're headed in the final part of our deep dive, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring how generative AI is changing the legal landscape, from the way lawyers work to the potential for bias and the need for a whole new approach to evaluating information.
And now we're diving into what might be the trickiest question of all intellectual property. If AI can create original content, whether it's a legal brief, a piece of music, or even a work of art, who owns the rights to it?
Right. This is where things get really complicated. Our traditional copyright laws are based on the idea of human authorship. But what happens when a machine is the one creating something new? Is it even possible for a machine to own anything?
Yeah, the Wikipedia article highlights how much debate there is around this right now.
Mhm.
In the US, the Copyright Office has said that AI-generated works created without any human input can't be copyrighted. They say it needs that human element of authorship.
So does that mean anything created by AI is automatically free for everyone to use, like public domain?
Well, it's not that straightforward. The Copyright Office is also looking at whether these rules need to be updated to account for how different generative AI is. This is a brand new area of law, so there aren't any easy answers yet.
It's like the law is trying to catch up to technology that's moving at warp speed. But let's try to break this down with a real-world example. Imagine a lawyer uses a tool like Harvey to draft a contract. Who owns the copyright to that contract? The lawyer, the company that made Harvey.
It's a great question. And the answer depends on the specifics of how it was created. If the lawyer gave the AI a lot of direction and shaped the final output, they might have a stronger claim to the copyright. But if the AI basically created the contract on its own, based on its algorithms, then it gets much murkier.
So it's not as simple as saying AI made it so nobody owns it. Seems like there's a whole spectrum of human involvement in AI-created content. And where you fall on that spectrum could determine who owns copyright.
Exactly. And this is where future court cases will be really important. As AI gets more sophisticated, and it becomes harder to tell the difference between human and machine creation, these copyright issues are only going to become more common and more controversial.
This raises an interesting question for law firms themselves. If they invest a lot of money in these AI tools, and those tools are creating valuable intellectual property, how do they protect that investment if it's not clear who owns the copyright?
Right. That's a valid concern. They need to think carefully about their contracts with the AI developers and with their clients, too. We'll likely see new types of licensing agreements popping up to address all of this complexity.
Sounds like job security for intellectual property lawyers, at least. But seriously, this uncertainty around copyright has bigger implications. If developers aren't sure who owns what, they might hesitate to invest in AI that creates this kind of content. And creators might be afraid to use it because they don't know the legal consequences.
You're right. This isn't just an academic debate. It has real-world consequences for businesses, for artists, for the whole future of AI development.
So we need clear laws that provide certainty and encourage people to innovate responsibly in this exciting new world.
Absolutely. We've come to the end of our deep dive, and it's clear that generative AI is not just changing the legal profession, it's forcing us to rethink some of our most basic concepts about authorship, creativity, and ownership.
And we've barely scratched the surface. There are so many more questions than answers right now, but that's what makes this so fascinating. By having these conversations, staying informed, and approaching AI with both curiosity and healthy skepticism, we can navigate this new landscape and ensure that AI is used to benefit everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into generative AI and the law. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions.